Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Blokes podcast. Ryan Hassan from the Centre for Healing here, joined as always by Nick, the Sultan of Steel, Sutherland from Myndfit. Nico, how are you today?
What's your thing? I mean, it's always Nick, the Sultan of Steel. I feel a lack of
When,
a
when I
plot.
was a when I was a teenager, and we used to go because I used to love the WWF, the wrestling back in the day, and me and my mate would go and to the local jumping castle at the local mini golf. We broke it like three times, and we'd play have WWF matches. And I was rock hard Ryan Hassan. Probably
Probably
not
not
the best. It's like my porno name, isn't it?
that appropriate for a mental health podcast.
I have a rock hard mentality. I have rock hard resilience.
Yeah, well, we could probably find something.
I have rock hard economy.
Economy.
Equanimity is not something that's going to be rock hard, isn't it? Equanimity?
Yeah,
What's equanimity? Economy is a word, though, isn't it?
I think
It's just
so.
not applicable to this. Economy is definitely a word.
I think you're trying to say economy, but with a lisp. Economy.
What do you think? I'm typing it in, it's definitely not a word. What do you think my nickname could be?
Ryan, the high flying Hassan.
The high flying Hassan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
What
I mean, it's got to be related to your nature. So,
what about on my story as a human, my metanoia? It could be Ryan from dealer to healer, Hassan.
I like it. I really like it.
I always toyed with the idea of writing a book, and I will one day. And then years ago, Melissa was like, "Well, when you do, you have to call it from dealer to healer." And I'm like, "That's so cringeworthy. I will never ever call it that."
So good.
I don't know.
Stealing, dealing, healing, Hassan.
What about the pastor of peace?
The Caesar of cesspools.
No, but I'm out of the cesspool.
Oh yeah, that's
We are
right.
talking about the meth cesspool here, aren't we? No,
Yeah,
I'm out of
yeah.
that. I'm out of that. We'll workshop it. Send us in if
I
anyone's
like, I
listening
like
and
it.
they've got some ideas.
Yeah.
I think we can do better, to be honest. We can do better. The Sultan of Stills just rolls off the tongue just so nicely. The miracle of McRae. So yours, I
Uh,
don't know what's going on, but you've just got these easy to come by ones.
I don't know. You're in a new location
Yeah,
for view
yeah,
on
yeah. The
YouTube.
last episode, I had moved house, but I had set up my little office in my little lair, my little den out here in this dwelling in the backyard. So I'm feeling very comfortable down here, Nick. I've got a toilet right there. I've got all my stuff set up. I've got it going on here. Bit of work to be done. I've got to run some cables and put a Wi-Fi thing in, but all just a matter of
Rome wasn't
time.
built in a day, was it?
What's that?
Rome wasn't built in a day.
That's right. Yeah, no, it wasn't. So neither was this. So,
Obviously,
I'm loving. I'm actually loving it. You know what you said. I might get into my own place and start, working on stuff and looking around and all that. And I'm finding that part of me is coming out a little bit.
okay.
I'm like, oh, we can do this over here or that there. I still
Yeah,
won't mow the lawns or anything, but
it's part of owning a house.
employing someone to mow your lawns.
No, mowing them.
You're so
Um,
old school, Nick. You're so traditional.
it does suit you. I said earlier, it suits you. You look comfortable in there. You've got your UV light at the back there, just to I don't know what it's for, counterfeit money or
I don't know. I've rented now. I owned a house when I was in my early 20s,
is that
but
so you can't see veins? Is that just a safety
yeah,
net?
yeah, it's part of my relapse prevention plan is to have a UV light in my office so I don't spontaneously start shooting up. And
I really,
if I ever turn it off, then it alerts my sponsor from my 12 steps and he has to call me and talk me off the edge of the cliff.
I like it. I like it. What a great.
Yeah. You have to set up your reality knowing that you can't make decisions for yourself and that you're going to stuff up. So you kind of have to nerf the whole world so you can't make any mistakes.
That makes perfect sense. And this is why you're the best at what you do.
Perfect nonsense. Um, and I've rented for so many years now, and I'm finding there's a bit of a feeling, I get up in the morning and look out the window with my cup of coffee and just breathing it in, I'm really enjoying it.
Put roots down. You've got that.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm growing them down into the earth at the minute, and it's a
That's
lovely
actually
feeling.
that's actually your toenails. You need to cut them.
My
It's been
ingrown
a while.
toenail, it's growing into myself.
It's been a while.
It's been a
Get
while.
a grinder out.
Yeah. How are you, mate? You're a little bit flat today.
Uh, I'm contemplative.
Oh, is that what you call it?
If that's presenting as flat, then it's I'm in your reality, so it's
What are you
whatever you.
contemplating?
Hey?
What are you contemplating? Life, the mysteries of it.
No, just what comes and goes, just
Yeah.
the ebbs and flows,
Like everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the comings and goings of it all. I just feel like I'm in that space between stimulus and response, and just observing.
Hanging out with Victor.
Yeah, me and Vicky boy. Um, it's exciting. We've got Ava back from Canada for a few weeks, so she's got her film premiere on the weekend,
Very
and
exciting.
yeah, so Melbourne International Film Festival running that for a couple of weeks. So great to have a red carpet event for that, and it's a beautiful documentary. I'm actually really excited for when it's released
Yeah.
to
No, I
the.
can't wait to have a look. There's a good documentary just, oh no, it's
Yeah.
great, isn't it? When
But
it's
it's
done right.
heartwarming, it's raw, it's real, it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, it's just insightful.
Yeah.
I think it's a really important documentary for young women, especially. Um, just it puts a lot in perspective. Obviously, they follow these girls for 7 years, and I'd like to actually see if the director Eliza can come on as a guest
Oh,
on the
that'd be
podcast.
great.
Yeah, because there is a lot of mental health stuff in there. So
Yeah.
uh, it's started off as a skateboarding documentary, but just turned into so much more.
Yeah. Was the plan for it to be 7 years at the start?
I don't know if that was a set time frame, but yeah, I don't know. It'd be great to ask Eliza. Maybe it just kept going, and she just
Yeah,
kept.
because it'd be just to have a project initially where you're like, yeah, this is going to be a 7 year deal. Like that's a big commitment.
Most blokes have projects that are more than 7 years, don't they? It's
They
like,
don't plan to be 7 years though.
get round to fixing that car, you know.
Stop hassling me. It's only been a month. It's been 5 years.
And you get another one. Oh, I'll start this one first. I'll finish this one first.
Uh, uh,
With a shed full of them.
yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Chad should come on. Maybe we can get Ray Gun on. You, you been keeping up with that?
Yeah, that's been interesting.
The
That's
Australian breakdancer at the Olympics.
yeah, yeah. I don't
He,
know. I'm conflicting things, so I just don't know. I'm not sure.
One thing
Uh,
I do know is, my God, the internet's fast at bringing out memes, and they're very, very clever with a lot of them.
remember when Scotty Scheffler got arrested? That day they were wearing free Scotty Scheffler t-shirts on the golf course. That day,
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, people are lightning. Um, Yeah, I mean the Olympics was interesting. It was the opening ceremony. I didn't watch it, but I heard
Yeah,
interesting
no, I
stuff.
didn't either, but I had a few friends message me going, yeah, I was sitting down with my kids to watch the opening ceremony and thought, what the hell am I watching here?
Yeah, a bit religious, a bit. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch it obviously. So, but the Aussies did well. So well done to all the Olympic athletes.
What are your thoughts on them getting paid 20 grand for winning a gold medal at the Olympics?
How much do they get?
I think reportedly maybe $20,000,
A different country. I heard Taiwan was like 190 grand or
as it
something, and
should be, like at least. It's like you
yeah.
put in all this work for 4 years, and unless you have some sort of sponsorship deal with a cereal company like Wheat Bix or something, then and then there's these professional athletes out there making $1 million a year. It's an interesting setup. I was like, from a business point of view, the Olympics, I'm like, wow, you make billions of dollars and pay the athletes nothing. That's really interesting.
But it was always based on amateurs, not
Yeah,
professionals.
true.
So um, yeah, I mean the golf, for instance, it's Reagan was the reason why breakdancing has already been pulled from the next Olympics. Um, but the
But look
golfers,
how much people might watch it now after what's happened. Like, it's gone so viral. It might be worth keeping it in.
and
I just
it, and
can't believe she pulled out the Homer Simpson. Whoop, 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 whoop.
even bad publicity is good publicity, you reckon?
A little
Uh,
bit.
but the golf, like they got caddies walking around with them. So yeah, the golfers are the athletes, but they got the caddies. So there's like this: should caddies get a medal too? Because they're a big
Oh, that's
part.
interesting. I don't know the answer to this, but like the soccer team, whoever wins gold, does the coach get a medal as well?
But the coach isn't out there going, right, kick it that way really hard or kick it that way really soft. They're not out there with them in
Oh,
the of it.
I think it's a pretty similar kind of setup.
All right.
Does the coach of a team at the Olympics?
I'd like to see golfers compete without a caddy, just mano on mano,
Oh, that
or
that'd be super interesting, wouldn't it?
yeah, or
It'd be
woman
just
up.
weird watching them carry their own clubs.
Yeah, totally. Just getting the like pool trolleys like at the local goat track.
Yeah. Okay, coaches don't get a gold medal of a
No,
team. Yeah, okay.
but the coaches have done the work. They're not involved in the play of things.
Oh, like they are to a
Yeah,
degree.
but caddies are reading greens and caddies are
Yeah, I guess so. I
a
guess
lot.
so.
So anyhow, yeah. So the Olympics was fun. You know what we haven't touched on in 124 episodes? We haven't spoken about religion or politics, which is a credit to us, I think. But
Yeah,
it's
please don't make this an excuse to start talking about it.
well, I mean, we're talking mental health. Donald Trump has to enter the equation at some stage.
Okay, what are we doing? Psychoanalysis of Donald Trump, are we?
No, no, that would take a
We
long.
should more do a psychoanalysis on the actual political system in the US and here as well. That's probably more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all very like there was Biden and Trump and I don't know. I'm just it's just it's turned into it's a circus. It's an absolute circus. And
Yeah, well, I think Donald Trump, clearly quite a narcissistic human being who was clearly trying to make up for the deficiencies in his father's eyes growing up without, I'm psychoanalyzing him, but we said we wouldn't. But
ladies and
he,
gentlemen, Freud on the podcast today.
but in terms of, well, he was, given millions of dollars to start businesses by his father, who was very successful, and he actually, squandered it before he became, very wealthy and successful. And he openly said his father never hugged him or told him he loved him. So we won't get into that. But I think he's also a breath of fresh air in an actual political system, because politicians are, most of these people are career politicians. They got into this industry and they've been doing it for decades. And it's like, who would want to do that job? And that's once again someone with a very much narcissistic personality disorder. And they are so much in that political system that they're just playing that game as opposed to going, hey, what are the actual is best for the people and what do the people need? And I'm here to serve the people. It's like, how do I best serve my own career and get to the highest point possible?
It's like we've now got two ends of the spectrum. We've got the career politicians who aren't really there for the people, and we've got Donald Trump, who's I don't know how much he's actually there for the people. And so I wanted hopefully what comes from this is someone pops up in the middle ground somewhere, and there is I don't know.
I heard The Rock. He was I think he was on Joe Rogan, and he was told he was approached. He wouldn't say which party, but one of the two parties over there approached him to be their face and run. And they had he said they had all this data and everything, and they knew exactly what states would win and that he would win, and he would because he's so goddamn popular. But he's kind of like, I don't want part of that, and I don't blame him at all for that.
No, or John Cena, or I think if The Rock ran, you'd go over there and get American citizenship to say you could vote for The Rock, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I can't go to America with my criminal record. I'm a bad boy, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. 2 days in the Alabama Slammer. Um, well, it's funny because my brother messaged. We've got a group chat between the siblings, and my brother messaged this morning talking about the digital ID that's just passed, and the government's forcing us to do all this stuff and whatever. And I did a bit of fact checking and found that it's voluntary, and you can deny. You can say no. I'm going to choose not to participate in it. But then he's like, "Oh, but that's how it always starts. It's always voluntary, and then they get you down the track." I'm like, "Okay," but I said to him, "Why don't people, the socially conscious, morally, ethically conscious people, why don't they get into politics, and why don't they, you know, put themselves in a position where they can affect change instead of just standing on the outside going, 'This is wrong, this is bad, this is terrible.' Why don't they actually become active and in a constructive way, not a blow shit up, destructive sort of way?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, it depends on the person, but some people try to. I think a lot of people, it's easier just to sort of yell from the sidelines. Um, and I think a lot of, because I've thought about this as well. I've thought about my future a little bit, and
Oh, Governor Hassan.
so I'm contemplating slash flat as well, by the sounds of it, and contemplating my future. And I've thought about like, do I go like in 10 years or something into like uh, policy around addiction and treatment and all that kind of thing? Because I'm trying to work out what I'm passionate about and all that. And part of me does, and then part of me is like, fucking hell, that just sounds. Everyone I see that goes into that ends up, and I think as a product of the system and the way it's set up, they end up their passion and their drive, everything gets dulled a little bit because they get into the system and realize how they think change needs to happen isn't the way real change actually happens.
Mm. Change takes a long
But
time.
it's like, how do you like change a system that has been around for all these years and is
I-
so
I'm
deeply
gonna,
embedded in culture?
I'm going to do a little experiment with it because I always had a dream from a young age to be the mayor of Dubbo, and I have no idea where that came from. I know it's totally.
Have you got some sort of affinity with
I,
Dubbo?
I don't know. I've got no idea where it comes from.
Some kids want to be an astronaut. Nick wants to be the mayor of Dubbo.
Hmm. I think I just like the way that Dubbo rolls off the tongue.
It does
Maybe.
roll off the tongue.
So,
Do you reckon all the mayors get together and I'm the mayor of Mooralbark and I'm the mayor of Dubbo? Oh, okay, all right. You win.
so before I leap into my aspiring political career, our house in Macrae backs onto the golf course, and um, there's a fire track pointing right at our back gate. So when there's a deluge, when it rains heavily, it just smashes into our backyard, and we have been flooded a couple of times. And we've gone and inquired with the committee at the golf course about what solutions can we come up with? And the initial response was, you shouldn't have bought a house on a hill. And I was like, thank you for revealing what we're dealing with here.
Solution.
Hey,
It's a great solution, isn't it? Just knowing how stupid you are for buying a house on a hill.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, that's just revealed something to me. And we kept inquiring, and so I ended up turfing out the back, and they came and sprayed that and killed it. So I was like, okay, what next? And I was like, all right, I've just got to, if you can't beat them, join them. So I'm going to do a Trojan horse sort of style, and I'm going to go and join the committee. This is like, this is a long term thing, and give me 6 or 7 years, I'll be head of the committee, and then I'm going to change the.
Just to
our,
benefit you individually.
do I have too much time on my hands? Is that
Trojan horse of
have I got
McRae.
too I've got too much patience? Like that's a
That,
seven
that's
year
that's very patient. That's a
that's
lot of boring meetings and shit that you have to go through.
But you know what? My Facebook account got hacked and then disabled without warning or notice or anything. So I've lost Facebook Messenger and a decade of photos and whatever. I'm not that flat about it, but I just found it interesting. I've been trying to engage with Meta or Facebook or Instagram or whatever they're called, and it's very messy. It's like just go to this link. I'm like, I try that and nothing happens. And blah blah blah. And I was sitting there this morning. I'm like, this is probably 7 or 8 hours I've spent on this now, and for something I don't really care about, but I'm more interested in the process, and I'm using it more to cultivate a greater capacity of patience. I'm sitting there this morning in bed at like 5:30, going, my patience is more powerful than their inept.
Customer support.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's a really interesting thing to come up, Nick. Well done.
Trying to flex
Um,
your patience.
yeah. So, but then I was like, all right, I'll surrender. I don't, I'll just start up a new one. And I tried to start up a new one. It's like, you can't use that email because it's still linked to another account. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is literally like going to the gym. This is so, you know, and you get to choose, and you get to choose, choose whether you're playful with it and how seriously you take this, and how offended you choose to be, and how upset you are, or you get to choose just to take it and let it just all do its thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting dealing with these larger organizations and like you said, like with politics and everything, just everything moves so incredibly slowly, you know, and that's difficult. Are you still on the committee?
I haven't joined yet. I'm just waiting for the next annual general meeting to throw my hat in the ring.
Oh, really? Are you gonna get, do you need an endorsement from someone? Can I write you a character reference?
The mayor of Dubbo might endorse me.
Probably not. You're coming for his job.
Not yet. Not yet.
When? When are you planning on it? What's a
Well,
great age to be the mayor of Dubbo?
got a 7 year plan with the Bayviews Golf Course Committee. So that's my next 7 years taken up.
Yeah, and then
And
you're
then
gonna get your backyard fixed, then move up to Dubbo straight away.
on a flat block, not on a hill. No hills in sight.
What is in Dubbo? They're at a zoo. The Dubbo Zoo I've heard of. But apart from that, what's
I
going on
don't
in
like
Dubbo?
zoos, so I might disband the zoo.
That's their
Uh,
number one tourist attraction.
yeah,
How is this town gonna go without their number one tourist
that's
attraction?
going to be my run. That's going to be my platform. That's what I'm going to run off. When I got high school captain, I was on Coke machines and dim sims. I'm going to get Coke machine and dim sims into the canteen, and I won with that, so I could take the same approach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So no more animal prison in Dubbo.
yeah, just and don't even rehome the animals. Just pull all the walls down.
How the polar bears gonna do in the Dubbo heat?
See what happens. They can choose to stay there. There just won't be any barriers to them leaving.
Right. They might be psychologically stuck. You know that the thing of the elephant, yeah, where
Yeah,
you chain it down to whatever. I think they chained the baby elephant down to some sort of chair, but it couldn't move.
plastic chair.
Plastic chair, and then yeah, even though it was bloody ended up hundreds and or a ton, it still stayed within the bounds of that chain. It's really
Mm.
sad. We went to in when we were in Costa Rica, we've been a couple of times now to they have an elephant sanctuary where they rescue all the elephants who have been on the rides, which is they treat them really poorly with those rides. And man, they get you. They just start telling you the stories about them and what happened to them and showing you the
Oh,
scars and all that. The first time we went was like 2020. And because Melissa gets so like feels so bad for them and everything. And she went up and I think she made a donation. She's like, how else can I help? She's like, oh, we just have our merchandise here. And we go to leave and get back in the bus. And Mel's got fucking like 20 Hessian elephant sanctuary bags, sunglasses, and all that. And I'm like, what is all this? She goes, I just wanted to help them. I'm like, all right, how much money did you spend? She's like, whatever was in your wallet. I'm like, it's like a week's worth of money in there. So we spent the next months just trying to give away elephant sanctuary stuff.
to start littering, causing another problem.
Yeah. 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 What else? Religion. You want to talk about religion?
No, that's all right. Can talk about that. Well, we can talk about religion to some degree because I'm told you I'm reading this Alan Watts book, Eastern Wisdom, Modern Life.
You're a Buddhist slash Stoic. Is Buddhism a religion? Do you believe? I mean, it's classified as that. What do you think?
Oh, can I offer you Alan Watts's insights on it?
I want Alan Watts's and yours.
Uh, no, I've never seen Buddhism as a religion. I've seen it as a way of life, a way of living. There's a lot of philosophy. People have turned it into a religion of sorts to suit themselves, and got the deity and all that sort of stuff. But in its purest form, um, yeah, because the Buddha said, "Don't." It's got no faith in it. There's no faith involved. Buddha said, "Don't just blindly sign up to this. Go away and test it." And that's why we use it at Myndfit, because it's stood the test of time. It's no one's cracked it yet. It's just raw logic and yeah. Client yesterday, and he just I reckon he must have said it makes sense, probably without lying, probably 30 times. I reckon, without exaggerating. I said, I might turn this into a drinking game. I'm going to get a bottle of
Yeah,
tequila for sessions, and every time you say it makes sense, I'm going to have a shot. So we could be partying our
could be
way
in
through
trouble.
this
Yeah.
program.
It's funny what you said though. That attitude of go take it away and test it and prove it wrong and that kind of thing. That's a very scientific attitude to take. And people see religion and science as, oftentimes opposite to each other.
Yeah. Um, So no, I mean, yeah, the very first page, is chapter one, Buddha and Buddhism, and he's talking about. It's more. Alan Watts says it's more a method of liberation. That's the thing he's using, a way of liberation, um,
From what?
from suffering, from just from the human condition, I suppose, from that
Mind-made suffering.
thirst for more, that desire for things to be different, for everything to be the way we would prefer it to be. It's just not how it happens. So um, yeah, no, he was talking about where I'm just trying to find this bit. So yes, so we are constantly frustrated by grasping and strangling a world that is essentially a changing pattern. Well, you really drank that in, didn't you?
No, yeah, I closed my eyes and just really felt into that for a second.
We are constantly frustrated by grasping and strangling a world that is essentially a changing pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, I call that just wrestling with reality, trying to manipulate it, trying to change it, wanting it to be different, wanting it to be a different way.
So he talks about the Four Noble Truths in there. We've done a podcast on that.
Was he a Buddhist or is just sort of analyzing Buddhism there?
He, well, he was actually a priest for a
Hmm.
while, escapitarian or something.
Is that the
Uh,
ones who just eat fish?
we're going to call this episode "Dad Jokes." Uh, Episcopalian minister is a professor, a graduate school dean, a research fellow at Harvard Uni. So him and Ram Dass hung out, and they started trying to get high and stay high by any means possible. And they both got asked to leave Harvard. Um, and then he died in '73. I was listening to a Ram Dass podcast yesterday, and he was talking about Alan Watts' last days, and he said I think it was. He was trying to download himself. He was just trying to empty himself before he died. He was really being playful with this whole concept of death, and instead of dying, he was trying to, people talk about a life celebration, but he was taking it to the extreme, as he tended to do, and Yeah, it's just an interesting dude. As we were talking about earlier, I've sort of been really feeling rammed ass for as long as I can, and then and now
Is that why
just
you're
sort
sitting on a cushion?
of I've been feeling into rammed ass. I've been connecting with Ram.
No,
I've
you have been connecting with for quite a while now. You know, you started, I remember you first were listening to maybe a couple of his, maybe it was a podcast of his talks or something, and you've just really been spending some time with him. It's been beautiful to watch.
Yeah, well, I mean it's very um a 1 hour Ram Dass podcast can take me a week to listen to because you got to pause it and process it, digest it, and really connect with it on that level. So him and Alan are speaking of so much of the same things, but in different ways. Like I'd say that Ram Dass is more a bit more on the woo woo. He's a bit more metaphysical. He talks about his what is it? His headless sort of person that he sees and whatnot. He's a little bit more out there. Where Alan, I think, was a little bit. I don't know if you'd say he's more grounded, but the way he spoke of it and presented it was yeah, equally deep, but a bit more digestible. I think for
Yeah,
the
he had such a great voice too. Like
oh
just as an orator, he was just brilliant to listen to. Just the accent, the way that he spoke, his, you know, little, sense of humor, I guess, in there as well. And yeah, he was, he loved the drink, he loved the women, he was very much into
reminds me
earth, into yeah.
just a great orator,
Soul brother.
dulcet tones.
Very much of the earthly pleasures and everything whilst thinking about and discussing that what lies beyond.
Yeah. So
What's the book there, mate? Hold it up. Which one are you reading?
Eastern Wisdom, Modern Life, a collected talks from 1960 to 1969.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's yeah, I mean it covers an array of topics, but um, Zen mysticism and morality, the images of man, Oriental philosophy, religion and sexuality.
Oh,
Uh, there's a bit going on in there, but yeah, I mean, it's because also we do what we do for a living, and then in your downtime, I found that I wanted to just have a probably less nutritional diet. So you'd consume, Netflix and Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, lately it's just been actually, no, I'd like to keep the nutritional value up. I think it's not every day, but because you're speaking of it and living it, constantly. So you do. I think it's important to have a break from it every now and then. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's an ebb and flow as well, isn't it? I went through that like for early on for years, and it was just my work and all that I did. I was either reading or listening to something just to do with these topics of mental health, human behavior, spirituality, all that. And it was like at the time I remember things like, yeah, sport or a good movie or TV show. And I'm like, that's, ridiculous. Like
it
what
needs me.
why would you ever watch that? It's so funny because I remember having this weird period because I was just fucking obsessed with sport as a kid, even as an adult and all that. And then all of a sudden when I had my metanoia, I just saw it as all a bit strange. I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? Watching these people chase a ball around?
Ryan Highbrow Hassan.
I know. I was up on my soapbox, just looking down at everyone, and it wasn't that. I wasn't down at anyone. I just thought it was just a bit silly. And then, yeah, I sort of balanced out a bit and went, oh, okay, I've had enough of reading, engulfing myself in all of this really heavy stuff. Whereas now I'm loving sport again. I'm loving a good movie and a TV show.
So you found that balance, but it is interesting. I mean, if it depends on what lens you look at it through, and you can play around with sport as an example, and give them their bread and their circus, and they won't revolt. So keep the masses entertained, and they won't rise up and challenge. So it's a
And that played into it a lot for me as well, because I started learning all that, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just to keep us distracted, so we remain so much in poverty that people can remain extraordinarily wealthy and well off.
well, it's probably good that you barrack for North Melbourne because you're not that engaged in it. You're
There's,
not
there's
sort
a
of.
direct correlation between me not coming that interested in football and my football team being fucking terrible. I told my friends the other day because we were watching. I think we won one of our only games the other week, and he goes, "Man, they're going to be good. Give them a couple of years." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be right there on the bandwagon, just a fair weather supporter, going, yeah, no, I was stuck with them in the bad times. Yeah,
You get a scarf. Oh, I've always had it. So you'd be
I'm always
standing,
wearing it. You're just never paying attention to me."
standing on it, kicking in the dirt, trying to age it.
Like when you buy those jeans that have the like cuts and scuff marks. I'll see if I can buy a North Melbourne gear that's got that on it. Marketplace, someone who just died, been barracking for him for 40 years.
And bandwagon supporter,
Yeah.
gear for sale. It's a market. There's been a big market
Oh
for it.
yeah, I'll be out there with sandpaper, rubbing the
I
scarf
can't
off.
do it. I don't have Facebook, so can't get a market.
Been locked out.
I've been disabled. It's disabled my account. That's funny.
Yeah, what were you gonna say? I think I cut you off.
Well, I don't know. So it's just, I think, it's just playing around with the state of the world, and it's the government and the sport and where do people position themselves? Because it is so easy to get caught up in the anxiety and the worry and the deeply affected by it all. And I guess that sends you down that end of the spectrum to sort of the tinfoil hat end of things. But then if you don't care and you go, oh, I'm gonna fall off the conveyor belt in another 60 years or what, so I won't be here to worry about it. Then you sort of end up at that hypo end. So you're hyper or hypo. Where is it healthy, mentally healthy to position ourselves, do you think is?
Oh, it's a really good question because I'm definitely not like a conspiracy theorist, but I, for God's sake, do not trust the government, pharmaceutical companies, or anything like that. And especially during COVID and everything, and you just start hearing from people who are just so far down the other, and I don't think either end is healthy, to be honest. Just blindly following whatever you're told because you believe people know better than you and know what's best for you, versus believing everything's a conspiracy and everyone's out to get you. Um, so yeah, I think everyone has to find their own balance. I always think about things and, I get, frustrated at, tax bills and all that. But I always think like, how could I make this better for myself and my family? Not as opposed to like, because yeah, I've seen people as soon as they start down the rabbit hole of blaming government and big organizations, you can just stay there for years. You can always find something and you
What's
become obsessed with it.
what's the root cause of it? Of people's discontentedness, do you think?
The root cause. Well, I mean, you shouldn't just blindly trust, another organization or another group of humans who tell you what to do. But at the same time, you have to realize that there's a system in place that definitely isn't perfect, but it's the best one we've come up with yet to live in large scale communities. Because, socialism has been tried, a few other things have been, dictatorships have been tried, and they don't end up very good. Just ask Russia about that. They don't end up, they destroy countries. And so, we've found this system that works to a degree. Can it be better? Of course it can. Any system can be better. But I think we're learning as human beings. We like to think that, oh, look how much we've evolved. We used to be these monkeys and then we were these. Look how olden days the people in the 1800s were. But we're not a finished product. We're probably like the little toddler in terms of the overall evolution of what a human being and how we function as a society is going to become. So we just got a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, I think ultimately people feel disempowered if they're not making the decisions. So for me, it comes back to ego. Not getting what it wants, not living in its ideal utopian way of life where you go and talk to someone about your backyard being flooded, and they're like, "Oh, God damn it! How did that happen? Yeah, let me get my shovel. Let me come and fix that for you right now." We're not getting that instant gratification and that not feeling loved and liked because people are just jumping when we say jump, and so, but it can't happen. We can't live. We all have. How many people are there in society? 27 million in Australia, whatever. We've all got egos that desire different things and have a different concept or design on what utopia would be. So it just it's and as Alan Watts was saying, it's I forget the word he used, but it's just doesn't
Bullshit.
make sense. Yeah, I'll just
It's
say bull.
we always look at these things through our own lens, don't we? As soon as like a new budget's released or some changes are being made, I'll automatically look at it and go, okay, what does this mean for small business in this country? Whereas someone else will look at it, what does it mean for an individual in this tax bracket? We always look at it through our own individual lens. So
Yeah,
right now around the world, especially here in Australia, interest rates have gone right up. They're trying to get a hold on inflation. So they're trying to literally stop people from spending money on small business. And so I can
well,
look
look,
at that and I have looked at that and gone, oh, this is bullshit. Like, stop doing that. But it's also not good to let inflation get out of control on a collective level. So, you're always, I think, and you'll know this, anybody who's been the coach of a team or been, the leader of a committee or something where you're dealing with essentially more than 5 or 10 people, you cannot please everyone. Someone's always going to be pissed off. So imagine managing 1,000, 10,000, a million, 25 million,
yes, that's just
especially when sometimes the people that feel the most disempowered, that was a good word that you used. I think that is the root cause. You're right. The people who feel the most disempowered also feel the most entitled that they should be getting something more than they've got.
yeah, which is ego. It's I'm entitled to this and I have rights. Um,
Yeah.
in here he says. I would call it a way of, just talking about Buddhism, I would call it a way of liberation from the ordinary way in which most civilized and probably many primitive people feel themselves and the world. That is to say, for example, the feeling that I am lonely, separate, transient individual, locked up inside my skin, and therefore different from, even hostile to, and alienated from everything else.
Mm.
Alone.
Alone. Yeah.
Feel alone. I feel alienated. People are essentially living in a primary state of fear. There's a deep underlying anxiety. I'd say in every 99.9% of humans on the planet.
Yeah.
That fear of, um, and that's creating a perceived threat. That we've gone from that. We are at the safest period in the history of mankind in terms of physical, but now it's switching over to psychological safety. We're perceiving all these threats. The government is a threat, and this person's a threat, and my neighbours are threatened. The golf course committee is a threat, and Facebook's a threat, and there's all these perceived threats. But what are they a threat to? And people are, well, my, well, it's really just a threat to the ego. That's fundamentally what it is. But they're not saying that because they're not quite aware of that. It's a threat to my rights as a person, or it's a threat to my way of life, or it's a threat to my freedom. American. So you can't take our guns off us. We're
Yeah.
not. We're just trying to make it harder for people who aren't well or irresponsible to get a gun. You're still
Yeah,
allowed
that's
to.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Everyone's being very isolated. It's very hard because ideally we go out and we work out, hey, is there someone I can help today? Is there someone who's not doing as well and I can help? And if a lot enough people do that and we start to lift each other up, but if we feel alone, isolated, and that we're being hard done by, then we're in no state to help other human beings.
I
And
think you said
unfortunately, yeah,
it.
go.
Sorry, I think you said it once that we Yeah, and I've I talk to clients about it too. But when we have these beliefs, we go searching for evidence. We go searching for these biases, and we'll start collecting it. And all of a sudden, if we've got this internal operating system, which is out of balance or distorted or stemming from the ego, and it's living in that state of anxiety. Oh, there's the government. Oh, they're coming for me. Or there's big pharma. They're coming for me. That's and yes, the government aren't perfect, and big pharma are definitely problematic. But there's going to be those imperfect systems, as you call it, in the world. And so it's for us to have that self-agency and to go, how can I exist in a world that is different to what my ego's desire for the world to be is? How can I, without being so deeply affected or thrown off by it?
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, we have more choices, I think, than what we realize. It's like we can go. Let's say I have some sort of ailment, and I go to a doctor, and he says, "Well, I recommend this medication," and then I'm like, "Okay, thanks," and that's an opinion. But then I go look at three other different options. Then I sit there as a human being and use my own discernment as to what I feel is going to be the right path for me, instead of you know just taking this medicine blindly that may be good for me or may not be good for me, or
But
getting
that's
pissed
what
off that that's what's being offered.
we empower the government, we empower big pharma by becoming consumers of it and by not sitting there making those autonomous decisions. And that's on a macro or micro level. I had a client, that makes sense client yesterday, and we're only week three. He's a young apprentice dude. He's an amazing mind, and he's doing his apprenticeship, and he's got a very challenging boss. He's got this wonderful guru as a boss. It's his teacher, dressed in drag, as Ram Dass would say. Um, and his boss said to him, "All right, well, before I go to the job site, I want you to come and work at my house today, and you can just sort of do some stuff in the garden." And he's like, "Well." He started to have this, well, but that's not what you're paying me for. And I'm not getting paid enough to do it. He started to go into that contraction internally. But then he went, actually, it's a nice day. I can just chuck my headphones in. It's pretty easy sort of work. I'm still going to get paid for it. I'll listen to he listened to one of our podcasts and spent the next couple of hours just in bliss. And he came and told me about it. And I was like, isn't that amazing? How does it feel to come into an understanding that at each moment we have options available to us? And he goes, yeah, he goes, I can't believe how I and so many other people don't have that understanding that we have choice. We can make empowered decisions. I'm going to choose to go and do this. It's not because the boss is telling me. I'm going to choose to go and do this and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It comes back to you and Victor hanging out in that space again. It's like instead of just stimulus response, it's like we just take a deep breath and go, all right, my immediate reaction is to be pissed off. I don't want to do that. You're not paying me for that. What other options do I have available to me? What other attitude can I possibly take?
Do I
Oh,
want do I want to spend the next 2 hours ruminating and
gritting my
dwelling
teeth. Fucking
and
asshole.
soaking in this cesspool of suffering, or do I want to have a great time with things? How do I want to feel? And
Yeah.
that's on that level, but we can do it in terms of the government and big pharma and war and terror and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like it exists. It's that once again, it's like that wrestling with reality. It's like these things, these systems exist. We don't have to love them and like them, but we have to play in them to an extent, but we don't. Like I remember when we had Tommy and so many parents have said to us, like, how the hell did you do that? And it's like, because you get forced on you so many things in the hospital and when you come out. And we just said, no, we never got him vaccinated, never got any of the shots in hospital, none of that. And people are like, "Well, you can actually do that?" I'm like, yeah, it's called saying no.
It's called setting
They're like,
boundaries.
but how did you do it? It's like, well, when they offered it, we said, no, thanks, we don't want that. And they asked a lot, but we just kept saying no, and here we are. So it's like, even though then, because people, like, they say yes and they resent this big authority thing, go, yeah, fuck them for making me do it. I'm like, You don't
I,
have to do
I,
everything.
I chose to get vaccinated for the COVID thing. We didn't want to. If we had, um, oh, I can't plan that really. We chose to get it because we wanted to go to Queensland, we wanted to travel, so we worked with it. We made an empowered decision. We didn't feel that anyone imposed anything upon us. It's all about how you frame it, and we just accepted it and we moved on. I don't even give it any second thought now. I don't. There's no lingering. I'm not in unnecessary suffering. I'm still not hanging on to what should or shouldn't have happened. I made an empowered decision and I moved to the next decision.
Yeah, yeah. And as long as we're making it from that empowered state, because we have that, we have people, this is what so many, clients, and I'm sure you see the same. It's taking them from a disempowered state to an empowered state. And it mightn't be to do with anything that we've spoken about on this episode. That might just be like, well, I feel disempowered in relationship. I feel disempowered in my friendships or my work or that kind of thing. I feel disempowered when it comes to my relationship with myself and the way that I view myself. And we're ideally taking them to a much more empowered state where it's okay, I feel good about myself, I actually accept who I am as a human being, I accept the relationships, the finances, the family that I have in this life. What I want to do next, whatever decision that is, I know that it's going to come from me, it's going to be autonomous, and I'm going to make it from an empowered state.
I'm choosing this. I can't choose. It's to what degree can we choose? And we can't choose whether there's bushfire. We can't choose whether um, there's a government in place. We can't choose so much, but what we can choose is our choices in relation to what we can't choose, and how much we buy into it, and how much it's amazing. People don't realize that even if they're refusing to go into big pharma, but they go and complain about it, they are still connected to big pharma. I'm just using that as an example. But and they can't see that. They can't see that they've given big pharma the key to their happiness, and they've created this illusion that they've got nothing over me. I'm like, why are you talking about them then? Why
Yeah,
have you spent the last 10 minutes telling me how terrible they are if they don't have anything over you? Oh, well, no, it's just the way. I'm like, you can't hear it, can you?
yeah, 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 yeah. What there's a saying, whatever we renounce we're tied to for life. It's a big one I see. And, someone who quits alcohol, but their every day is about not drinking alcohol. It's like it's better for you. It's much more healthy, but you're still psychologically and emotionally tied to the thing you're trying to get rid of. We want to make it as irrelevant as a blade of grass out there, ideally.
Whatever we persist will resist.
All right. I'm
Um,
going to finish this off here, Nick, because I have a meeting in about 2 minutes.
whatever. So I was just interesting because Alan was talking about, is it a religion, is it this or that in his book, and he said the Buddha was the world's first great psychotherapist. He sees Buddhism as psychotherapy,
I
and
agree.
yeah, but there was a science to it as well. There was a diagnosis and a prescription. That's what the Four Noble Truths are. It's like, let's diagnose it and then let's prescribe it, and then let's do what's. Buddha was the first pusher. I'm gonna prescribe this onto you. So yeah, I'll keep reading it, and we might just dive into this a bit more. I'll take some notes and I'll write on the page. And
You'll have to. You're only one chapter in, mate, and you're just giving us so much gold nuggets here.
yeah. All right. Well, you've got a meeting. Don't forget. So in a
Thanks, mate.
couple of
Whatever.
yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks everyone for tuning in this week. There's been a bit of a mishmash this episode, a bit of a all over the shop random topics, bit of a chat. So we hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next episode.